Okay, so imagine that you have created a lot of different things, a lot of different images. You've created now a brand and you want to show off your new product in an interesting way. You're going to a fair and you want to have something interesting like a giveaway or things like that. So, what you can do is you can actually create from your imagery that you've generated with AI or other imagery. Actually, you can generate 3D content. You could either go in and start modeling or hiring a modeling expert, but there are actually also other ways to do this. And then you can create a flyer, for instance, with Photoshop or something like that. And then you can generate a QR code and have that QR code link to an augmented reality experience. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you what that might look like and how you can do that. So I've created this flyer here. Um, this flyer is just a flyer that consists of a logo, some text, some icons, and a QR code. And as soon as my screen here, this is my mobile phone connected to this, as soon as it's connect with this QR code, it will ask if I can go into Adobe Aero, which is an app that you can download for free, and I'll show you how to use this. It opens up this card that says, do you want to, it's not actually downloading the model or the app, but it's just running a sort of micro version of it that allows you to see augmented reality content. So I'll just say yes. And this, by the way, works both on iPhone and um, on iPhone and on Android. So it will ask me if I want to go into this concept here. I've called it concept development. You can call it whatever, and you can also replace the image here. But this image here makes it easier to sort of signify that I'm actually in the right place, and I can just press continue. And then it will access my camera, and now it's showing the product here in 3D, the product that I had on my visual here, and I can turn it around. As long as this thing here is in my viewfinder, I can actually sort of see the product. That also means I can lift it up and view closer and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. Of course, it can be used in other ways as well, but this is what I would like you to try to emulate or to create during this process here. So I will just again uh, turn off my computer here, and I'll show you on my screen what exactly it is that I have done to get all the way to doing this. So what you need is a couple of different things. You need to have your flyer layout. I have mine here in Photoshop. You need to have a 3D file of the product, and you need to have a product image. You also probably need some sort of icon here, and I'll sort of talk about how to get that. And also you'll need to generate this QR code. The text, of course, is totally up to you. This text is also up to you, but just keep in mind that it's a good idea to sort of generate something that talks to the consumer and sort of asks them to do something. Um, so also I have this logo up here, which is just something that I've created randomly for this exercise, but it could be yours that is being placed here or something like that. So this is my flyer. But where it really started was in ChatGPT, because I started by asking ChatGPT if it could help me create some brand ideas. You can do this as well, but you can also start wherever you are fitting into this process. So I chose one of the brand ideas. Here it's a brand called Era. That's a brand with a hybrid between modern technology and hand craftsmanship. Then I asked it to generate 3 different product ideas to this. Again, we could generate a lot of more different, do it much more sort of detailed than this. But what I really wanted to was to get to the point where I can ask ChatGPT. Um, Here I'm asking for 3 specific bags. It's called the Morph Tote AI generated tote bag in regenerated leather. And there are some different ideas here that I really like. I'm going with the Nova clutch, innovative mycelium leather clutch with digital prints. So it has some descriptions of this here that I really like. There is something about the fold over and all of this I really like. I am not going to change this for this concept, but you could do this. And then I ask it, could you make this into a Mid-Journey prompt? For those of you who are reading this in Danish, you'll note that as soon as I does this, it shifts from talking Danish into English. And that's because Mid-Journey really would like to have you talking in English. For those of you who are working in English, you won't have been able to read everything before this, but now you can read what it says here. So the Mid-Journey prompt is basically a text that tells a picture generator what to do. We've already covered this, so this shouldn't be really a surprise to you. Again, there's a lot of text here, and then I just throw this text into, I actually ask it to do it on a white background opposed to something else, because the next step of the process is generating an image that I can actually use to create a 3D model with. And so with this prompt, I go into Mid-Journey. As you can see here, I really have generated a lot of different versions of this. Some I like, some I don't like. I think there is something really cool about this one here. This one I really like, so I've chosen to work with this, or this one actually I think it was that I chose. Yeah, it was this one here. So basically from Mid-Journey, all I need is this image with, or from my image generator that is. It could also be Firefly in this instance here, but that's totally up to you. I just need something with a fairly simple background so that the next part of the process won't be confused. So I download this image here from Mid-Journey to my computer. And now I want to make this into a 3D model. And I then go into this AI here, which is called Hyperhuman. It's called Hyper 3D. And then it's Rodin. I will leave the link in the description of this video so that you can find this particular AI again here. It does have some really cool features where you can tell it how it should generate it, but basically you'll make an input here, an image, and then you can generate 3D content from this. So what this part over here does, it helps it generate, so to speak. So the first one is just a simple, this is what you see, this is what you get image. But I could go in and say, if I, for instance, know the size of a piece of furniture, I can create a bounding box or a box that will sort of indicate that this is the actual size of the product, and then it will generate the 3D model within that, which is pretty cool if you know the size of it already. For something like basic furniture, it actually is pretty good at guessing sizes. That being said, sometimes when you want to do something that's more innovative in a way, it's hard for it to actually see the size. And also the size might change along the way when we're using other 3D programs. So don't worry about that too much. We'll just put an input here. And what I do is I just upload my image here. I have this one here. I will upload it. I won't actually do it right now because I have already done it, so you'll see the result in 2 seconds. But you just press generate, and then it will generate a product. If I go in here, you'll see what it looks like. It actually does it in 2 steps. It starts off by generating the 3D geometry, and then you're asked to confirm the 3D geometry, and then you get to select the surface material, which is this skin material here, or gold here. So this is actually what it generated, and it actually don't take that long. I think you have something like 3 free generations with this, so you can just try it out. It's not that expensive to buy more if you really feel that this is fun or something that you want to go on with. But the really interesting thing about this is that now I have this 3D model. I can now download it for different things. Feel free to play around with all of these different settings here. But what I really want to do is I want this to be used for things. You can see that actually there is something called SimReady, which is where I can sort of tell it to emulate a specific size, weight, density, and all of that, and I can have it function in a 3D engine as a material or a real thing, which is really cool for those of us who might be going into talking about game development, stuff like that, or virtual world development, whatever. For us here in this case, this is not really what we want. We just want to be able to download it in a simple format that we can use to something else. And the two main formats that we are going to be looking at is this one here called GLB. This is a format that includes both the 3D geometry and the material files, and it's really good for something like augmented reality, because it's simple. You just download one file and then you throw that file in and then it just works. If we're working with 3D printing, for instance, we might use one of the other ones here, because then we can sort of do something else. But because we could actually, from this 3D model, we could also print with 3D. We could print our first, and I'm just going to take this one here, the geometry one, where you can see what this looks like. So I could print this in 3D and do test with size and stuff like that, and define what would the user like and all of that. I could do that actually fairly quickly. But in this case here, we're just going to focus in on this other one. This is the material settings here. There are two different types of materials that you can download. There's one called shaded and one called PBR. Without actually talking about what the difference are, I would just click this one off and just download the PBR version. I would then choose the GLB version here, GLB and PBR. No need for any other settings, and then I'll just press download. And then what I get down on my computer is a file. In my case, I've actually renamed mine because it downloads this as sort of a standard file name, but I've just downloaded mine to be called Era Leatherbag, so it's now renamed to fit with the brand that I created before. So now I have an image of the product, I have the 3D file. Now I want to create the small postcard that I'm going to be using, and for that I also need a logo. So I just went into my ChatGPT here again. If you don't have a paid version, you might not be able to generate pictures with it, so you can do it somewhere else, or you can create your own. It's really not that important. So what I did was I created a logo here, and then I just threw it into Photoshop. In Photoshop, this is my Photoshop, I just actually, let's just turn off these layers so you can see in what order this happened. I imported this, where did I didn't turn this part off here. This one here. Okay, so I started with this image here, which was just the logo, and then I used the generative fill. I selected everything around it and a little bit of this, so that I could generate a background like this. And now I have a full background that I can generate something on. Then I added a text, choosing the font that I feel matches the best here. I actually had ChatGPT generate a suggestion for a text here, but with slight changes from me, focusing on the fact that it's mycelium leather. And the word reimagined, so it's luxury reimagined with mycelium leather. Then I have added the photo of the tote bag, and this is where I've gone a little bit. I'll just make a duplicate of this so I can turn it on, and you can see what is happening here. So actually what I've done is, I'm just going to throw this mask away for a second. Why can't I do that? Delete layer mask. So you'll see that this is the image that I get in. I just twisted it a little bit to get it to fit right. But the idea here is really that to make it match a background like this, the easiest, absolutely easiest way is because since I already asked the AI to generate this on a white background, it has already generated shadows and stuff like that, so I can just use that. And the easiest way to do that is to first use this object selection tool here to select the parts of the image that I want to keep, and then I just add a mask. Now I have the product. And so I duplicate this layer. Let's say here, duplicate layer. There it is. And then the bottom one, I will just click on the mask and press Command I to inverse the mask. So now I have the white background and I have the product. And then I can take the white background here and I can change the layer mode into multiply. So now it's adding the black where it needs to be added, which means that the shadows are now falling on the brown area here. In my version, I actually also added a slight extra shadow here because I just went in, selected this, created a layer, filled it with black, and then blurred it a little bit to add a little bit of extra shadow to that, but that's not totally necessary. I think this is actually a pretty close approximation of what I wanted to do. And then I grouped those two layers so I can move my bag around and scale it and do whatever. Since these are already smart layers, when I import it, it's actually, I can scale it whatever I want and it will keep my resolution here. So this is the first parts, the logo, the text, and the image. And now I need to make some kind of text saying that this is, I need to scan the QR code. And I just added this one saying scan QR code to experience a product in 3D. And then I added this icon here. Oftentimes consumers are helped by some kind of visual effect that will tell them what to do. So I found this icon here on something called Flat Icon, but you can find it somewhere else. It's not really hard to find free icons that you can use for something like this. And then I added a QR code that looks like this, and I'll come back to how that QR code is generated. So now I have my image here. Then I exported my image. I could save it. I will save it, of course, as a PSD, but I also actually exported it as a, pressed export here and said quick export as JPG, because now I have it as a small file size that I can use for the next part of the project. So coming from this, I went into Adobe, and you will find this if you go to, you probably don't have this downloaded already, but as you might have realized right now, in your Creative Cloud, there is actually a lot of programs that you probably are not using all that much right now because they're not, it doesn't feel like they're important to you, but some of them might actually turn out to be that if you kind of go in and research what they are. So in my apps folder, I can click on the one called Beta Apps, and here you'll see sort of premier versions of different apps. These are versions of the apps that are the latest version of the app. So the Photoshop Beta, for instance, was the first one that introduced the AI. After a month or so, the real version of the app was updated with the AI functionality as well. The beta apps sometimes are a little bit more flunky. They might not work completely as intended, but most of the time they are actually pretty good. And what we're looking for here is, there's a lot of different cool stuff here, but there is one down here that is called, let's see if we can find it here. It's called Adobe Aero. And Adobe Aero is it looks like a 3D app, but actually it's an augmented reality app. So I will just open mine here for a second. And this is what it looks like, but I'm just going to go back to the beginning so you can see what it looks like. You'll have all of these files here that you've created. So when you start up, of course, there isn't any. So I just say I want to create a new file and I need to name it something. I will create something called, actually I'll just open mine in a second, but what I'll say here is you can name it whatever, and then you need to tell it how it should work. And this is because augmented reality can work in at least 3 different ways. One is that it scans and tracks a physical object. This could be a piece of paper like what I just showed you. It could be packaging, it could be signs, whatever it is. posters. It's really up to you what it is, but it is a static physical object that's in the area. What that really allows for is think about how easy it is to mass produce something like this, to print out 1,000 folders or packaging or whatever. Sometimes you then spread it out and people can bring it home with them, but sometimes you want something to be location specific. So you could have what is called a location anchor. So for instance, if you want to create an augmented reality experience that only exists right outside your store or something like that, you could imagine you want to have a virtual opening of a store and then you can add balloons to it, something like what it's saying here, or it could be something else like a product that only shows in your main brand store or something like that. That's what you can use this location anchor for here. It can also be used in a more subversive way. For instance, you can present your main product right in front of your biggest competitor store or maybe inside their competitor store just to tease them off or whatever you want to do. So then there is the last one called surface anchor. That one is really cool because it allows you to place a product in the real world. Your camera on your device, your mobile phone or your computer will scan the real world and it will identify surfaces such as floors, tables, whatever, and it will place the product on those surfaces. In comparison to the image anchor is tied to the image. So if you rotate the folder or the packaging, if you do something like that, it will follow it. And if you remove the image from your device, the 3D content will disappear and it will reappear attached to that object again. In comparison to that, the surface anchor lets the 3D content stay in the real world. Even when you move your camera away, it sort of is still there. So when you swipe back, it will reconnect and show that content again. That allows for you to be more free with your camera. So if you have bigger objects like a model or something where you want to sort of be able to look around more, this is a better option. This is a better option if you want to tie directly to a product. Well, enough about that. You can also explore that for yourself. So I'll just press create here. I won't do that now, but I'll just pop right into what it looks like. And let's see here, it's just loading my product here. And I'll just what I'll do is I will just delete these things again so you can see what's going on here. So when you come into this, it will actually be empty here. Probably this one will be open here and it will tell you that you can add some starter assets here. These are things that are already in the program and they can be nice to work with if you just want to play around with it. But basically, I would advise you to just start creating your own because it's really that simple. So what we want to do here is we want to place in some kind of anchor. If you chose your image anchor already in the startup section, then you've probably already selected this image. If not, if you created one of the other ones, then you can go in and change this afterwards. This is not a fixed situation. You can always change it. So for instance, if you chose the other one, it would look something like this. So now it's actually just tracking to a horizontal surface. If I want to track to an image, I need to press image here and then I have to choose my card here. And when I created the card inside Photoshop, I actually asked it to be an A5 size. In Photoshop, this is a sort of it's a size that I can resize, I can change it and everything, but it will have physical dimensions attached to the file. And those physical dimensions are actually transformed into this JPEG as well. So if I place it here, it will have a certain size. This is representing an A5 size inside this. You'll see that there are centimeter notifications here. So this is 50 centimeters. So if I sort of count down, then this is sort of 10 centimeters, 20 centimeters, and then that would actually amount to have an A4 size again, which is A5. But that's the size of this, my flyer or whatever it is. And now I need to place some 3D content here. And this is really basic stuff in this program. You can do a lot more advanced stuff, but we don't have to do that. So I just press my plus button here, and then it sort of shows me whatever folder I want to download from. Mine is set to downloads folder, and here I find the GLB file that I downloaded before. And it has to be sort of a visible file format. If it somehow can't read it, then it won't show up like that. So this one is here, and I can open it. When I import a model like this, it's actually it comes in a bigger size, and this is what I was talking about before. Sometimes, even though you set a size in the other programs, in the AI programs, it will just mess it up anyway when you bring it in here. But it is kind of indicating a size. So if I was to do it now, it would be really, really big, because it says here that this is actually now almost 1 meter tall. And that means that this thing is 2 meters tall, and it can't fit at all on my small flyer here. So what I need to do is I need to rescale it. And I can do this in several ways. I could use the scaling tool like this, and then I can just scale something like this. Or I could go in and type in the scale here more specifically. The thing is, the small annoying thing here is that I can't really replace this center here. So whenever I do this, when I take this, there is a chance that I, for instance, as I just did, I might click this one. This is not really the best one to use, because this one snaps the product, and it's really annoying. What can help you a little bit is that it shows a shadow here that sort of indicates where this product is. So it kind of shows that it's a little bit above the surface right now. I'm pressing down with my right mouse and dragging, then I can rotate like this. If I scroll on my zoom wheel, I can scroll in and down, in and up like this, or I can hold down my middle wheel and pan around like this. Also, I can use these arrows here. This is what is called a transform gizmo. For those of you who are not used to working with 3D programs, this term is perhaps not familiar, but instead of just being a cursor that shows exactly where the product are, depending on where you grab on this, it will sort of do things depending on that. So in this case here, where I've chosen the move version here, it can choose, I can either choose to move, if I just grab the object like this, it will move the product around like this. It's similar to grabbing it here, which means that when I grab this one, the blue one here, it will move only in this plane, which is sort of like the X and the Y axis. If I wanted to move in one of the other planes, I can do that. And now you can see that I can't really move it to the sides. It's actually just moving up and down. If I just want to move it down only, I can click on the blue axis here, and it will solely move on that. So here I would go in and check. I'd actually just tilt the camera up, and looking at these two axes here, I can see that as soon as they are kind of parallel, that means that if I move this down to this place here, it's going to be parallel with that surface. And again, I probably want to scale it a little bit from this size. So what I'll do in this case here, I'll just type in a height on the Z axis, for instance, 12. Again, this is the numbers, is not something that's static. That depends on your product and what it is you want to place on your surface. So again, because I scaled from the middle, this product is now hanging up in the air again. So I just need to drag it down like this and place it somewhere. And let's just say that I'm happy with this. That's actually all there is to it. So now when I go in and scan this product with my phone, this will be standing in exactly that place. So I'll just actually, what I'll do here is I will just, no, you know what, because you saw it before, I want to do this again. I want to have my product here. And now the last thing I need to do to make this very simple version of it, I need to press share. And now I can change the image here if I want to have something else here. It will probably show you your 3D model here, but I prefer to have something like the thing that I need to scan here, because it really helps me to know that I'm in the right area when I can't see what's being popping up. So for that reason, I've chosen this one here. Mine was in this concept development folder here. I choose this one and place that one. As soon as I press, yours won't look like this exactly, but it will say upload, and then you can say upload, and it will generate a link that you can copy and place somewhere else. It will also generate a QR code that you can download. The QR code that you download have this arrow logo embedded in it. I prefer to do it in a little bit different way, and I'll just show you that in a second. If you make changes to your model along the way, if you make something different, if you make something, replace something or add something to it, you can always update it, and it won't change the QR code. So this QR code that you download now, you can actually use in your layout to generate something with. So I will just say apply changes, and now it says syncing changes. So now it's actually uploading all of the different things, the information that I placed on this, where this bag is placed. And if I go in a second, as soon as this one is done uploading, sometimes it takes a little while, sometimes it's fairly quick. But if I take, and let's just see if I get to, so it's updated now, and I will just go to my phone here for a second. And why is that one not showing up right now? It is not showing up right now because I'm recording my screen, of course, and that kind of makes that difficult. But whatever, you can try and scan this for yourself, and you can see that there is a difference here. As a last thing, I'll just show you how I would change the, sometimes I'll take this one, say copy here, and that means that I've copied the link for this here. And when I say close here, I can go into, I can actually say Adobe Express QR code. So Adobe has this QR generator that is actually built into Adobe Express, which again you have access to. So I can just say start now. And in here, what you do is you type in or paste in the link that you had before. You can see mine is now in here. And now I can change the style. I can change the border to whatever I want, have it look in a different way. I could also change the colors, but I'm not actually going to do that. Then I can download it, and it downloads as a PNG right now. If I needed to be for a bigger poster, for instance, I would probably choose SVG because that's a vector format, and that allows me to scale it much better. But for this exercise here, it's not really necessary to change that. So I'll just stick to the PNG, and in my PSD folder, I can now add my icon here, and that's the final piece of the puzzle. Now I have a QR code. And of course, the last thing you need to do is to print this out and test it on your phone to see if it works, just like it did with me. So hopefully this will help you through this process. Again, just create an image of a product, run that through Rodin to make it into a 3D product, go through creating a poster layout like this, or a postcard layout, or a business card, or whatever. And then you can go into Adobe Aero to create this kind of addition here. So there is one last thing that I just want to mention fairly quick, because before I go on, this is something you can play with if you want to, but it's not necessarily something that is something you want to do. So inside arrow, you can do a lot more things than just place a 3D object. You can place, for instance, you can place both 2D and 3D objects, which means that you can create objects like signs and things like that that are pointing to this object and telling it about different things. And down here you have the content folder, but you also have a behavior builder. And in the behavior builder, you can add triggers. So when this pops up on your computer screen, this bag here, you can do things with it. You can press it on the screen and nothing will happen until you add a trigger. So if I add a trigger here and said on tap, for instance, this means that whenever something is tapped, right now it doesn't have anything because I didn't select anything. So I need to say, so when the error leather bag, that's this one, is tapped, something happened. And then I can also say allow re-triggering, says after action is complete, after whatever it does something else. So this is really how you build this up, and you can say, for instance, my first action could be to say, I want this to spin. And it doesn't really say anything. So what is it it needs to spin? It needs to spin the leather bag. It needs to spin it around the y-axis. Again, I haven't sort of decided. It says it takes 2 seconds to spin it out, and then it kind of slows down at the end. This is what this ease in and out means. I could ask it to do infinite, so it just keeps spinning, but I won't for now. I can then go into, this is the edit mode. If I go into preview, it will show me what it is going to look like on my device. So I see this, I see the object here, I see the bag, and if I tap the bag, it spins around like this. So that's what my information here says. This is the X, Y, and Z, or Y-axis. The reason why this doesn't really fit is because it's actually doing it around this one here, which is the object's Y-axis, which is not what we want to do. So I might want to set this to Z-axis instead. Let's say preview. And now it turns around like this. I can go in and define much more complicated things. But that's just movement that I could add. I could add animation and play that animation from another program, or I could add other triggers like, for instance, press on an object. If I tap this, then maybe my action should be something like open a URL. So if I wanted to go into a website, I could have this. Rather than just have the QR code, I could show a 3D object and then I could have it go into a specific landing page for this product. And I could have more products available here. I could have this one. If I tap it, I could go to the next product. I could have 3 or 4 or 5 products in 3D. So this would be sort of like a 3D catalog. Whenever I press a product, then I would then open the respective page and I could then buy it directly from my phone. So there is a lot of options here, but the basic functionality of just placing a 3D object and have it be in sort of the real world through augmented reality, that's what the assignment is and what you should try and complete. Thank you very much for listening.